came out of the depths. He's back, and we are closing in on this year's All 32. We are on to the New England Patriots. If this is your first time here, a New England Patriots fan, or just tuning into the videos for the first time, this is where me and Noah go across the entire NFL. We preview every single team. We go over the 2024 season, everything that happened. We go over the 2025 offseason, and then we give our predictions for the 2024 season. So then to go on to the New England Patriots, where last year they finished 4-13. They finished fourth in the AFC East. And the season, having a season like that, the only thing that could have possibly done is produced a coaching change. So the writing was on the wall for Drake Maye, like almost immediately. Like when the season started going bad, it was like Drake Maye.
Oh, he's out of here.
Sucked.
Yeah,
he kind of sucks his head a little bit.
Yeah, he was not good. They won what? They stole one of the first games of the regular season. I think it was against the Bengals, right? They stole the first game against Cincinnati on the road, 16-10. But after that, it was just a whole lot of losses and not really anything to be. Literally, the only bright spot was that you have Drake Maye going into this season.
That's funny that you said that. I felt like that's what actually prompted the coaching change, because I say that because if Drake Maye looked bad and or struggled, it would have been like, okay, like maybe they're working out the kinks or whatever. But it was just so clearly obvious that Drake Maye is clearly that guy. Like obviously Brissett started the first few games of the season, and then as immediately as Drake Maye got entered into this team, it was like, okay, Drake Maye is a dude, and this team's extremely incompetent. And I think that's what led to ultimately that firing. But some DVOA stats for this team. Team DVOA, they're ranked 30th in the entire league. Offensive DVOA, they're marked at 24th, with the passing DVOA being at 32nd and rushing at 30th. And then defensive, they're sitting at 29th in the NFL. This was one of the worst teams by damn near every single metric last season. And I think that is, when you bring in Drake Maye, like that is like the last thing that you really were expecting. I felt like you were expecting some sort of boost from where you were at with Bill Belichick the year before, bringing in a new guy and trying to figure something out. And clearly that wasn't the case. It was time to completely cut ties with like this Bill Belichick tree, which Drake Maye clearly stemmed from.
Yeah, I have some offensive and defensive efficiency stats here. And at least when New England was bad previously, they could at least like kind of hang their hat on having some things go right defensively for them. But the short-lived Drake Maye era didn't really leave anything that you want to remember heading into 2025. So points per drive, they ranked 30th. Touchdowns per drive, they ranked 28th. 3-and-out percentage, they were 27th. Red zone percentage rank, they were 25th. Yards per drive, they were 27th. So bottom of the pack on all of those stats offensively. Defensively, they gave up the 27th most, or they were 27th in points per drive given up, 25th in touchdowns per drive given up. Didn't force any turnovers defensively. They were 31st. 3-and-out percentage, they were 30th. They just could not get off the field defensively. And clearly none of those stats should shock you from a team that went 4-13.
No, they should have. This team should have had the first pick in the NFL draft, but Joe Milton went nuclear the last week of the season and ruined it for them. And that's what goes to show everyone that these coaches are all working on their own agenda. Because if you look at any metric, or not even metric, if you just have common sense and you're like, okay, we're the New England Patriots, we're sitting with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, what do we need to do this week to pretty much secure the fact of our number one overall pick? Lose. And Gerard Mayo put them in a position where they won the football game versus the Bills, and Joe Milton snapped. So just malpractice within the organization. But that goes to show you, like, the Lovie Smith story a few years ago with the Texans when he went for it instead of kick the field goal instead of kneeling it out and made them lose the first overall pick. So that stings. But I think what's actually a positive about this season, as many L's as there are on this schedule, the two games that stuck out to me the most was losing to the Los Angeles Rams by 6 points, and in week 16, losing by 3 points to the Buffalo Bills when they were at full strength. Josh Allen was playing the whole nine. To be able to at least be tough against the top of the divisions, and like Rams, who people think really highly of, and the Buffalo Bills, who everybody loves, they're always able to split with the Bills every single season, even if it's not in a throwaway game at the end of the year. They always win these weird games against the Bills. I think back to when Mac Jones played at Buffalo in the wind game and they beat them and he had like 2 passing attempts or something ridiculous like that. So I like the fact that they were, even in a down year where they were really, really bad, although Buffalo did sit their starters week 18, they were still able to split with Buffalo. And in the game that they did play, they kept it close. So I think that that's something that they are looking to build on, performances like that going into this upcoming season.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the coaching agenda thing that you mentioned about. And I think that is interesting because, like, Gerard Mayo, at the end of the day, like, Gerard Mayo probably saw the writing on the wall of like, hey, I'm getting out of here. But these coaches, like you said, are coaching for their own agenda. And like, it is still their job to go out there and put a game plan together to try and win football games, even if what is best for the organization is to lose, which it clearly was in that situation against Buffalo. But I think that just goes to show that he wanted to still go out there and win. And even if you see the writing on the wall like that, you can't ever count one of these teams. Like, you can't count any teams out any week in the NFL unless you go out there and are like a Buffalo Bills for this scenario, and you rest all your starters. It's like, okay, yeah, you likely might lose that game, but at the end of the day, you can't take anybody for lightly, because these coaches are still trying to think of, okay, where am I going to go next, right? Like, I'm not cut out to be the coach of the New England Patriots, but I still have to try, and I still want to put on a showing for my next job rather than going out sad, which I understand that as a coach, but as a fan base, you got to hate Gerard Mayo for coaching the way that he did in that last game.
Yeah, of course.
Because that took them from the number 1 overall pick to falling to 4th. And although they got a great player at 4, having the number 1 overall pick is obviously great. And what does a win against Buffalo week 18 while nobody's playing on either team, what does that do for you? Absolutely nothing. Because they didn't even, like, they traded Joe Milton this offseason, which we'll get into, but I don't remember exactly what the trade consisted of, but maybe that was the thought process, is like, hey, let's see if he can go out there and we'll move on from him after this year too. Maybe that played a little bit into it, but at the end of the day, Gerard Mayo royally screwed the New England Patriots in that last game.
Absolutely. Funny though. It happens. It
does
right.
happen.
Well, they're trying to show, like, it's like, well, I'm not going to go out sad. Like, I'm trying to get a job somewhere else. Like, let's do this. So it is what it is. Again, just some key storylines that we kind of touched on already, where it was just the firing of Gerard Mayo and trying to figure some things out here with this roster, which has been kind of left in limbo after the Bill Belichick era and kind of shoring some things up. But getting into the 2025 offseason, something that I think that is invaluable that has happened is this clear upgrade in the front office, in the coaching, in the coaching staff, sorry, that the Patriots have made this offseason. And that's bringing in Mike Vrabel, who Mike Vrabel has shown that he's able to take teams of not great talent and get the most out of them. The Titans teams, who were number one seeds in the AFC like a few years ago, with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback at the helm. And then you bring in somebody like Josh McDaniels, and me and you have had countless arguments about this, but ultimately at the end of the day, getting somebody in the building who is clearly a proven play caller, who's clearly had a lot of success, who's a Super Bowl winner, having all of these guys who are winners and understand a culture that needs to be brought up in New England. All these guys have been in New England for a long time, have won there, and to bring them back with this team, I just feel like it's invaluable. And we're going to obviously watch how much of a jump that, and how much it matters for a team like New England Patriots to get some competency in the building.
Yeah, I mean, although we might not necessarily agree on how we feel about some of these guys like Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, I think we can agree on that they are a much better coaching staff than what New England has had in the last few years. And they, at the very least, will set a floor of competency in the locker room with these guys that New England didn't have with Gerard Mayo, and even maybe towards the end of the Bill Belichick era. I know in 2022 they won 8 games, but it felt like that. It felt like they didn't even win 8 games just because of how almost incompetent they looked at times. And I think Vrabel is a great culture setter, which I think that they need to reset in New England after the brutal season that they had with Gerard Mayo last year.
Yeah, I'm searching up his coaching record here real quick because I'm just curious to see what it is. He's 54 and 45, so a little bit above 500. But you look at these teams that he put out: 2018 9-7, 2019 9-7, 2020 11-5, 2021 12-5, 2022 7-10, 2023 6-11. Those last 2 seasons were when they were throwing darts at the quarterback position and trying to figure that out. But up until that point, I mean, until the 7-10, 6-11 season, I mean, that's a playoff team every single year. So yeah, I remember back in the day, I don't know what happened with your love for Mike Vrabel, but back in the day, you really used to be high on Mike Vrabel. So we'll watch it play out this year. I personally think you're going to eat your words about the Ben Johnson being the most valuable head coach hired this offseason. I think we're going to see a way bigger jump from the Patriots this year compared to the Bears.
I mean, that would probably be just one of those teams making the playoff, right? The Bears won, 5 games?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I could realistically see both of those teams being playoff teams, but we'll wait and see how it plays out.
We'll see. So to get into this 2025 offseason as well, do you have the roster losses and the free agency signings?
I do. So they moved on from a lot of guys. Jawan Bentley, David Andrews, Jacoby Brissett, Devon Godchaux, Jonathan Jones, Dietrich Wise, Daniel Ekuale, Titus Leo, Chuck Wuma Okorafor, Jake Andrews, Joe Milton, Curtis Jacobs, Joey Sly.
Virginia Tech legend.
I don't really think you're going to miss too many of those guys. Normally,
I think it was just time to move on, time to start fresh.
That's what I was going to say. Is normally after a year of going 4-13 and you kind of clean house, I don't really think you're going to be missing too many guys from that previous year. And the good news for New England is their better players are some of their younger guys going into this season. which is really something to build on. But the free agents and trades that they had this offseason, they brought in Milton Williams, they brought in Stephon Diggs, Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Morgan Moses, Mac Holland, Josh Dobbs, and Marcus Epps. So I like the names, some of these names
Tommy
here
DeVito.
that I've got. Tommy DeVito of some guys that they brought in. Gave Milton Williams a huge contract. I said Mac Hollins.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about some of these moves that they made? They got better on defense. It seems like they went and they made a splash signing with Milton Williams after he said that he was going to sign with the Panthers, and then they upped the money.
I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, up the money, I guess, and went and got their guy. And Robert Spillane played some really valuable football in Vegas. Carlton Davis should be pretty good. Christian Gonzalez should have a breakout year, and then it is what it is. Also,
you froze.
The Patriots just cut Jabril Peppers as well, just to let you know. Not that it matters.
Just now?
Like 2 days ago or something like that.
Okay.
Let's get into the 2025 draft. It feels like vibes are really high around this draft.
Yeah.
They go and they grab Will Campbell, obviously, the guy to protect Drake Maye, and he seems like a great dude, and I'm excited for him. But the spark plug and the firework of Travion Henderson, who's every time he's touched the ball pretty much in preseason, he's looked like a guy. Yeah. So I know that the fans are super excited about that. And then Kyle Williams, obviously, being he was from Washington, right? I think that
Washington State, I think.
Washington State. Yeah, that sounds right. I like him. Again, I would love to see a Washington State wide receiver pan out other than Cooper Kupp, but we'll see if he can be a guy. But yeah, vibes are high around this draft just based off of those two top picks that I mentioned in Will Campbell and Travion Henderson.
Yeah, I'll be interesting to see how Kyle Williams does pan out. I mean, I've heard some decent things. At least I've seen them on Twitter, but New England hasn't really had a great history recently of bringing in wide receivers, especially through the draft. But that could probably be a lot of chalked up to when Bill was there wanting towards the end. It just felt like he couldn't evaluate talent at the level that he once did, because a lot of those guys that were brought in 2022 and 2023 are just no longer on the team, which obviously is never a great sign. But
you mean N'Keal Harry didn't do it for you?
No, I like him out of Arizona State, but maybe in a different world he would have panned out better.
Well, that's why you're not evaluating talent, because you clearly suck at it. You just said you like N'Keal Harry.
I watched him play a couple of times at Arizona State, and he went off. But yeah, I think you're correct. I am not a great evaluator of talent. But no, I like the other two guys. I think Will Campbell is going to be an important part of this offensive line for the foreseeable future. And every time, like you said, Travion Henderson touches the football, it seems like something good's happening for them. Let's see if that can happen in the regular season. But a lot of people are really high on him, especially in fantasy. But we'll see how it goes. It feels like there's a lot of obviously rookie running backs that are going to be playing like a lot of meaningful snaps this season.
So the depth charts just got released, and the Krosky Merritt dude, he's listed fourth on the official depth chart on like the Washington Commanders website.
Yeah.
And then I just checked what the Patriot, because everybody's making fun of me in the group chat because I took him in fantasy. So then I check what Travion Henderson is on the Patriots, and he's listed third behind Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson on the Patriots official depth chart website. So I just sent it back, which is funny because I just gave Brady shit for not acknowledging the depth chart, and now I'm just using the exact opposite thing. But no, I think, I mean, there's no reason. Josh McDaniels has always kind of used a platoon of running backs, and it seems like right now that Travion Henderson is the dude with the most juice. So even if he's not a 3-down back guy, which I don't think he will be, but it feels like he's going to get a lot of valuable touches. And that is, I view him and Antonio Gibson a little bit as like the same player, like of what like they could do. But Travion Henderson is just clearly way better at this point in his career than Antonio Gibson is.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about the wide receivers, but I think Travion Henderson could probably be one of the more electric, more valuable pieces on this offense and could be a pretty useful playmaker. So I think getting him the ball could be pretty important for them.
I don't hate this receiving core, realistically. Like, I think if Diggs is like I think if you even get like a 75% version of what prime Stephon Diggs is, like, I think you take that. Like, I like Pop Douglas. I think he could be decent. Kayshon Boutte, who like kind of I thought was like a wash up, like out of LSU, like showed promise last year and like wasn't that bad. Matt Collins is like a blocking wide receiver, but he played decent on the Bills last year. And then like their tight end position of Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, it's not exciting at all. Like when you hear those names,
no, it's not.
Those guys hop out on the field. But the reality is they're both sure-handed tight ends and do their job. And you watch that connection last year with Hunter Henry and Drake Maye like all season pretty much. So I don't hate their group of players. They're just obvious. Like I said, Travion Henderson's just the spark plug.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily hate it either. I don't love it, but what I had in mind is like, who's going to be your big play guy? And it feels like Travion Henderson could be the big play guy in this offense.
Him or Kyle Williams?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know because am I expecting Diggs coming off of a torn ACL to go out there and be your big play guy at this point in his season? No, probably not. You might be able to get one here or there out of Pop Douglas. And then, like you mentioned, Matt Collins is just like a fine number 3 wide receiver, better blocking probably. And then the tight ends are just more so of like, they feel more of like safety valve type options rather than guys who you're going to go out there and expect to have a huge play throughout the game. But then again, in the grand scheme of the NFL, there's probably only 3 or 4 of those like big play guys. I
don't hate them. I will say I don't hate them. I think they're not terrible.
I don't think they're terrible either. They're more sure-handed than anything, which is what you would want from a quarterback going into his second season.
Definitely. All right, let's get into some win total stuff. Their win total right now is sitting on FanDuel at 7.5. I think that's kind of low, personally. They're to win the division, they're sitting at plus 550. The Buffalo Bills are sitting at minus 270, and them to win the conference, which would be, some would probably say shocking to most, sitting at plus 3,500. And then for them to win the Super Bowl is sitting at plus 8,000. I want to give you a case for something here because we're at the end of this today. We're going to round out the whole NFL. The Buffalo Bills are silently falling apart again before the season even starts with injuries, and it's kind of getting swept under the rug. Defensive tackle just tore his Achilles. Their entire secondary is sitting in the hospital right now and with major injuries. I'm not saying that it's hard to say this because of how dominant they've been over the past few seasons, but at some point that injury luck on defense is going to catch up to them. And they had a bunch of guys hurt last year. They were able to kind of overcome that a little bit. When we previewed the Buffalo Bills, you pointed out to me as much as I pointed out how great the defense was from like a metric standpoint, you kind of pointed out how fluky it could have potentially been. Just based off of turnovers and stops in the red zone. I think the value of them winning this division at plus 550 is like, that's amazing. To be sitting at their second favorite in odds. They're in front of the Dolphins. They're in front of the Jets. Bills are sitting at plus 270. We already talked about how the Patriots and the Bills are able to split games, even when the Patriots are at their absolute worst. We're sitting here, and I don't know how you feel. This is how I personally feel. I feel like this team upgraded significantly on both sides of the football and with their coaching staff. I'm taking a flyer on the New England Patriots, I think, to win this division this upcoming season and solidify themselves as a playoff team. They always talk about the quarterback year 2 jump. Why is nobody talking about the possibility of Drake Maye being that quarterback to take the year 2 jump? I think he already impressed a lot of people in his first year when I wasn't really expecting anything out of him. And I think now, having another year under his belt, a better play caller, better talent all around him, and a better head coach, I'm picking this team to win the division and take that next jump. So yes, I like their over in wins as well at 7.5. You can
yeah. So I think the new coach bump too, they will get that as well, because like we said at the beginning of this, having Vrabel raises the floor of competency for this team. And you rattled off his first few seasons. I don't think he had a quarterback that will be as good as Drake Maye is in his career.
Probably not.
So I think that plays a good role into this too. I as long as Josh Allen is there in Buffalo, I will be sticking with the Buffalo Bills. But from a value perspective, I think that it is perfectly reasonable to want to take this team at that number to win this division. I think they have a pretty favorable schedule. And if the injury luck is the opposite of what the Bills had last year, they had the best injury luck on offense. If it's a little bit worse than that, I could see them drop a couple games here and there. But I don't want to like pick a team based off of thinking guys will get injured. I'm trying to go into it with planning on everybody potentially being healthy, even though you rattled off a couple guys already.
Yeah, they're already hurt. That's what I guess I just look at the talent on the Patriots roster and on the Bills roster, and really the only thing that is a significant upgrade is the Josh Allen piece of it, because he's obviously proven himself in the NFL for a long period of time. But like I said, what if Drake Maye can take that next step? Then at that point, I mean, I think that the Bills have a better offensive line and a better quarterback.
Okay. Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's better on that football team other than those two things? I think it's kind of a toss up. And if Drake Maye can, like I said, this is dependent on, this is taking a gamble on Drake Maye being a guy. If he can take that year 2 jump, which we've watched it play out, the guys who have won MVPs in year 2, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, those guys who have jumped out the second year, that's who I'm hanging my hat on to go and take that year 2 jump.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you said that. The Bills' offensive line is better, because I definitely think it is. I think that the Patriots' offensive line has some questions moving forward with this season. I really don't know how good they're going to be, but from what I saw, it seemed like a lot of people were kind of worried about it, at least in New England. I somehow have made my way onto New England Patriots Twitter, and there were people that were very nervous about how the offensive line was shaping up. So that's something that I would consider. But at the end of the day, like if they're healthy, that's better than dealing with the injuries already at this point in this, before the season even starts, with the Buffalo Bills. I think it's worth taking a flyer. I like the value, especially with how bad the rest of this division could be and how favorable the schedule is for New England. But as long as Josh Allen is healthy and is there, I have a hard time picking against the Buffalo Bills.
My 2025 season prediction is going to be them winning 12 games. I think that they take that next step. I think they finish first in the division, and they solidify themselves as a playoff team this year. Might be a hot take, but I think that they can beat the Jets both times. I think that they can beat the Dolphins both times, just based on what we were saying. And I think that they could possibly split I think that they could definitely split with the Buffalo Bills. And if we're talking about that, and then them just potentially going on a run in the regular season against the rest of their talent, which you just said they have a little bit of a favorable schedule. I'm picking them to win 12 games. That's going to be another dark horse team that I have just taking that next step as a potential surprise.
Yeah, I actually have them as a wild card team. I do think they make the playoffs. I think they win 9 games this season. You already mentioned Miami. You already mentioned the Jets, but they also play the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, Atlanta, and the Giants and the Panthers. So if the jump is as significant as you think it's going to be, I think there's a very good case for you that they win 10, 11, 12 games.
Hey.
So I don't hate it. But I think at the very least, this team is a wild card team.
Perfect. What's your prediction for win total for the Patriots?
I'm going to go with 9 and 8.
Nice. All right. We'll see if the New England Patriots can take the jump. I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion.